This is directly from Miami University's website. It's a guide on acceptable ways to refer to the school, such as Miami University. Pretty standard and straightforward. A couple other examples here, but also unacceptable ways to refer to it, like everybody's favorite Miami of Ohio. There it is in black and white. Everybody in the sports world has it wrong, and we have for a long time. And you know the deal. This Miami has been around a lot longer than the other anyway. The O has got to go. But hold on. Here recently, the O is exactly what defines, maybe not the university, but certainly the basketball program. It's not a modifier, it's an exclamation, as in 23-0. The Red Hawks record, one of just 2 teams in the country still perfect. The O is every bit of the reason why this 23 is not just a win total, it's a national ranking. The number 23 team in the country is not Miami of Ohio, it is Miami University. But the O, as long as they keep winning, it can stay. Now, before he was ever in Buffalo back in 2019, Brady was the passing game coordinator for the LSU Tigers. That means he was directly involved with current Bengals stars Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Front office executives will almost never break news during a normal press conference, but read between the lines. When Duke Tobin was asked this offseason about T. Higgins and his future with the team, he said this.
I think T. Higgins is a fantastic football player, and I want him on my football team. Whenever I'm in charge of a football team, I want T. Higgins.
Okay, they did end up signing T. Higgins to a long-term deal this offseason. So contrast that, what he said there, with how he answered the same question about Jermaine Pratt.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. He requested a trade. We've looked into that a little bit, and we are where we are.
All right, the whole point is you could see this coming from a mile away. Jermaine Pratt was never going to be in Cincinnati this fall. For the sake of this exercise, we're going to say the magic number is 9, and the AFC North champ finishes the season at 9-8. Now, if that's going to be the Bengals, and if they're going to win the division, in this model, they need to win the remaining 5 games on their schedule. That's our constant. We say in this model, the Bengals win out. What else needs to happen? Well, the Ravens need to lose 2 games, and the Steelers need to lose 2 games. One of those has to be in the division. Good news is they still have 3 division games left on their schedule. Now, these 2 games between the Steelers and the Ravens, one this week and one the final week of the regular season, the most fascinating games remaining. At that time, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were still slivers on this pie chart, still on rookie contracts, and there was relatively speaking, a lot of room to pay other players. Now, though, if the Bengals were to extend Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson and give those guys what they deserve right now on the market, it would significantly shrink this gray area, and that's how you pay the rest of your D linemen, your linebackers, your defensive backs, your running backs, your other receivers, your tight ends, and other players. So it gets difficult and it gets tricky, but it is possible. The Bengals are cheap. You've heard it. Maybe that's your opinion too. We've all heard the stories. Hotel coupons, used equipment. I'm not telling you you can't have that opinion, but let's give credit where it's due. This ain't cheap. The Bengals will be reworking their defense this year because Jermaine Pratt has requested a trade. He's a question mark. Sam Hubbard, retired. Sheldon Rankins, gone. B.J. Hill is set to be a free agent this season, and now Trey Hendrickson becomes a question mark because he could potentially be traded. So the question is, do you want to rebuild that defense without the current most valuable piece? I think the Bengals could have put the top 10 defensive prospects available at pick 17, written them down on a piece of paper and put them in a hat, picked one, and whatever one they picked, you're thinking, okay, good. The defense got better tonight. It was the position group that made the most sense. As for the player they picked, well, look, it's the epitome of a pick based on upside. The glaring concern is Shamar Stewart's lack of production in college. This is the time that teams in the top leagues in the world in Europe are finishing their season. That's when they're looking to dish out a bunch of money and add players. That's when the market is the hottest. Well, currently, the MLS schedule runs from February through the summer and up till about the time we are at right now. So MLS teams are not going to want to give away their best players this time of year, even though those teams in Europe might be offering a whole lot of money. But starting in 2027, those calendars will be synced up, so that won't be much of an issue anymore. In your mind, does this make Major League Soccer an even bigger player on the world soccer stage?
Yeah, I think it's where we need to get to.
Since the start of 2023, 47 of FC Cincinnati's games have been decided by one goal. Of those 47 games, Cincinnati has won 37 of them. The next closest in terms of one-goal wins in Major League Soccer in that time frame is 21. In fact, they've won 10 games this season. Cincinnati has. That's second most in MLS. 9 of those 10 wins have been by one goal. Point is, Cincinnati has been really good in close games, and they play a lot of them. On the road in Montreal tonight. That would suggest that either Monday's optimism was nothing more than talk, or those negotiations hit a major snag at some point during the last 24 hours or so. Now, assuming that Trey Hendrickson does not show up for training camp, it leaves the Bengals without their best player on defense and without first-round pick Shamar Stewart, who still does not have a signed rookie contract. And until he does, he cannot practice with the team. And that's concerning when you look at the Bengals depth chart. But what it likely means is a large chunk of first-team snaps for Joseph Osai and Miles Murphy. As a result of this settlement, student athletes will now be able to transfer from one college to another as many times as they choose, as long as they meet academic standards. Now, some student athletes might even gain a year of eligibility as a result of the rule changes. And players who choose to transfer will no longer be forced to sit out just because it's their second time transferring. When Bengals star receiver Jamar Chase arrived in the NFL 4 years ago, one of the first things he bought was a pack of sticky notes. On each one, a personal football goal for himself, like yards, catches, or touchdowns. Now he's ripped all of those down, and there's only one remaining.
Super Bowl.
A quick timeline. Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time in Milwaukee. I'm in the Reds clubhouse as they clinch a playoff spot. I've never seen so much champagne in my life. Back in town early Monday morning, a few hours of sleep, and then that night in the studio, 11:20 p.m., I was forced to talk about the Bengals' awful performance on Monday Night Football. I think we just scrap each other. Forget about the Bengals coverage tonight. Let's talk about the Reds. I probably still have champagne on my body. That's a team that looks like they want to be out there. That team looks done. Yep, that's me, telling you how I really felt. 5 hours later, catch a flight to the West Coast. Caleb Noah here at CBG, the airport. After 35 picks out the window and a couple of terrible attempts at a nap on the plane, I do feel better now. Not about the Bengals, more about the palm trees and beautiful weather, and the fact that we get playoff baseball, October baseball. I'll have it covered for you this week here on the West Coast. See, they opened the season by winning 16 of their first 30 games. That's good. They had a winning record in the month of April. This season, exact same story up to this point. 16-14 record in the first 30 games and an identical 14-13 record in the month of April. But let this play out for the rest of the 2024 season, and it's easy to see the month of May is where it all crashed and burned for the Reds. 9-18 record in the month of May. They lost 2/3 of their games. Baseball is all about the games within the game. One of those is the mental battle between hitter and pitcher. The batter always wants to know what pitches might be coming his way. Our guy, sports anchor Marshall Kramsky, was a pitcher in college. Marshall, what does it mean if a player is tipping his pitches?
It's just a fancy way of saying the pitcher is
The Cincinnati Bengals team facility at Paycor Stadium, where it's been 3 straight years of disappointment for Bengals fans. Most recently, a 6-11 record and a 3rd straight season of missing the playoffs.
Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm back. Hold on. All the things we do for sports.
Dave was wide open, but it was like 1.4 seconds left, so I knew this had to go up, and I had to make it. The big man comes up, but he's staying closer to the basket because he don't want me to.
I'll be him, right?
Oh yeah, he stays back because he know I can go to the basket. So I just pull up, shoot it.
Let's see it. Can you do it again?
Oh yeah, I got it.
Oh,
Backboard, right?
it's got to be a bank shot, just like in the game.
So he backed up.
Oh, is it different in this environment than it is in front of a crowd at the last second of a game?
In front of the crowd, you know you got to make it, or you know. So it was a little bit more pressure, but you know I got to get it right here.
There it is. Oh! Hey, sports anchor Caleb Noe here at Great American Ballpark. Thursday's loss will be a tough one for the Reds to walk away from and head out of town on a 9-game, 10-day road trip to Baltimore, then Miami and Colorado, understanding that on Thursday, the Reds made enough big plays to win a baseball game.
We're not worried about what happened in the past. We're worried about what's going on right now. Right now, we're going to the Super Bowl with a chance to win it.
Let's go to LA.
Joe, the word all year has been believe. Can you believe this moment right now?
Yeah, I can believe it. We're a really good team. We worked really hard for this, and we're excited.
Congratulations, man. That is Joe Burrow. You heard from T. Higgins as well. The Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals, are headed to Los Angeles to play in the Super Bowl. You've seen some of the players walking off the field here. It was quite a celebration on the field after the game, and this celebration is going to continue on for quite a while here in the stadium. The Chiefs fans are all gone. There were plenty of Cincinnati Bengals fans who made this trip out here to Kansas City. 8.5-hour drive from Cincinnati out here to Kansas City, and well worth it for these Bengals fans who were in attendance today. You heard it a couple minutes ago, but yes, this is the Bengals' first Super Bowl appearance in over 3 decades. What's it like, man, to see this? What's this moment like for you?
It's heartfelt, man. You know, it's been a while since we've been able to do this, and these guys came into Kansas City and bust their butts, and now we're going to the Super Bowl. Hooray!
Can we get a shuffle, baby? Can we get a shuffle? Here we go. We got Ickey Woods with the shuffle. And the Bengals fans here in attendance love to see it. He's got that big B chain on. He calls it the Big B chain. He said it's his lucky chain because he bought it when he was in Vegas, a game the Bengals won on the road out in Las Vegas. He said he didn't wear it for a couple weeks in there, and the Bengals lost a couple games. Then he started wearing it again, and the Bengals have made this incredible late season run here, including, of course, today's win over the Chiefs, an overtime win in the AFC Championship. Look at that. They came prepared with a Super Bowl bound sign. You came prepared with a Super Bowl bound sign.
Yes, we did. We knew they were going to win.
Did you have it out the whole game, or did you wait to pull it out until the very end?
Till the end. I did.
What was it like to pull that out and know that it was true?
Amazing. It was amazing. I can't believe it.
Let us get one more look at that. And you see there, on the left side of the sign, it says the standard. And the reason it says the standard on the left side of that sign is because all along this season, the Bengals have said, why not us? Recently, they changed that mantra to, it is us. Because the players have said over and over, this is now the standard. You shouldn't be surprised to see us at this point, to see us having this success. They say this is now the standard for this organization. And if this is a standard, I think it's a pretty sweet standard. A lot of the Bills players leaving the sideline and surrounding Damar Hamlin on the field. A lot of the Bengals players stepped on the field as well. We could see T. Higgins, the player who did collide with Hamlin on that play. We could see T. Higgins standing over near the Bengals sideline with his hands on his head. And then he kind of squatted toward the ground. He was visibly emotional. I was down in the tunnel shortly after that, this tunnel right over here, and that's where officials were meeting with the two head coaches, Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott. They were on phone calls and with presumably with league officials. There were league officials, again, and referees down there in the tunnel. They were making calls. And then shortly after that was when we found out the game would be suspended for tonight, that it would not be played tonight. Now, there is no update as of right now about when this game will resume. If this game will resume, those are tricky questions that will have to be answered at some point. It's hard to think about football right now and, what will happen with this game, which was, look, coming into this a very, very important and meaningful football game. Maybe the most meaningful football game in the NFL this season up to this point. That is secondary right now. All thoughts. I think I speak for all Bengals fans, all Bills fans, and everybody across the league in saying that all thoughts are with Damar Hamlin, with that football team, with the Buffalo Bills, and with his family, and with his friends. I grew up playing football. It's a fast, physical sport. You're trained from, the time you're 8 or 9 years old. When you get tackled, you get right back up. You play the next play. You got to be tough, physical. It's not supposed to be a life-threatening game, and that's where we're at right now. Damar Hamlin in critical condition. The last we heard, Valerie Lyons continuing to follow that situation out there.
Okay, turnover battle is a big thing. I'm going to give you the result of what has to happen, and that is you have to force Jaden Daniels to beat you with his arm. You can't allow the Commanders to go for 215 yards on the ground like they did last week. How do you get there? Well, you have to stop the run, right? Plain and simple.
And that's not easy against this team.
The other way is this. You take an early lead, right? If you're the Cincinnati Bengals and you're playing from ahead, then you force the Commanders to get out of what they're comfortable doing. You force them to throw the football. That's how you win the game if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. Come out and put a touchdown on the board early.
Well, if they do it, it'll be in a few minutes. Kickoff's coming up real soon. Bengals, Commanders.
The biggest takeaway for me was the way that Will Howard played tonight for Ohio State. I said coming into this game that this is a chance for Will Howard to not cement his legacy, but to make a major statement for his legacy as Ohio State's quarterback. And I said, look, he didn't have to come in here and throw for 330 yards, but he had to come in here and manage a well-rounded game on offense for Ohio State. Look, he threw for darn near 330 yards. He threw for 311 yards.
The executive producer, along with our high school sports expert, Mike Dyer, Ray Pfeffer, our videographer, put a whole lot of work into that. This is like I feel like it's a red carpet moment, red carpet interview. We'll call it a red bus interview. This is the actual bus from the movie Hoosiers, Marshall.
That's the bus from the movie Hoosiers.
Yeah, there's the parade going on outside. Everybody talking about the Grand Marshal. We've got our own Grand Marshal here inside the stadium. I think I've used that line 3 years in a row.
Yeah, once a year, huh?
He's Marshall Kramsky, and I'm Caleb No. There is a parade going on outside. Fans talking about the parade right now, but when they get inside this ballpark later today, all the whispers from one seat to the next are going to be, hey, you know the Reds got that new manager, Terry Francona, this year.
Terry Francona, he's a future Hall of Famer.
I'm talking a little more quietly here because we do have some of our friends over here taking phone calls. It became such a large part of my identity. I can't imagine looking back to the time I was 5 or 6 years old and thinking about the idea of not being able to afford a pair of cleats, not being able to have cleats so that I could play this sport that became such a large part of my identity. That's what these donations are allowing kids in the area to do, is to play sports, to be involved in something that they might be able to do for the rest of their lives. Maybe they become the next pro soccer player. This is the specially designed match ball for the Club World Cup. Has it been put to use yet?
Not yet. It's you see, it's fresh. It's there, out of print, and
it does not look like it's been kicked yet. You
not
want to change
yet,
that?
Not yet. Let's change it.
All right, let's
come
do it.
on.
How does it feel?
It feels good, doesn't it? Up.
Okay, I see you.
You're a goalkeeper, though. Ah.
Yeah, I should quit while I'm ahead, right? So. There is $1 million coming from FIFA to the city of Cincinnati. Where is that money in your mind to be directed? What is that for?
Well, that's actually a very important point. FIFA is very well aware of our social responsibility.
Did you have a routine or a tradition growing up for opening day? Like, were you one of those kids that was always here in the stadium, or what was that day like for you?
I must confess, last year was my first opening day. I never got to, I never got to, miss school, I guess. Sorry, Mom and Dad, for throwing you on the bus here, but I was always kind of had practice after or whatever, so I never got to go as a kid. But
it worked out for you. Your practice, your baseball practice, got you here eventually.
Eventually paid off. So yeah.
Cincinnati has been a city that's been mentioned in terms of expansion over the years. Do you see Cincinnati as a viable site or location for a future NHL team?
Cincinnati's a great city, great sports fans. We're not expanding right now.
The whole production versus traits thing. What is your message to anybody out there who might be concerned with your lack of statistical production in college?
Go watch the tape, please. Like, I led my team in pressures.
We've gotten to see FC Cincinnati clinch a playoff spot now 4 consecutive years. It felt like that first year back in 2022, there was a certain novelty to it where you certainly hoped to win and keep advancing. Now it feels like there's an absolute expectation there.
You said it, an expectation.
When Evander arrives in Cincinnati, his talent is no secret to anybody. You know what you're getting. But over the course of the last few months coaching him, is there anything about his game that you're pleasantly surprised by?
A lot, to be honest.
The clubs competing in the Club World Cup. I mean, these are some highly reputable clubs. When you look at the top clubs in the world, outside of just having great players, because that's always a factor, what makes those clubs the top clubs in the world?
Well, it's the history, the culture of these clubs. These clubs are 100+ years old.
So for a club like Cincinnati or other clubs in Major League Soccer, like Miami, who's a club that has been around even for a shorter period of time than Cincinnati has. How do you elevate yourself, understanding that you don't have that century of history to fall back on?
Well, you know, with passion, with investment.
Hey, we're back on FC Cincinnati Weekly from here inside the Fortress TQL Stadium. I said I could handle it myself from here on out, but Tyler was kind enough to stick around. He said he couldn't wait to talk about some more MLS Cup playoff action.
Are you kidding me? There's a chill in the air.
You look at any playoff game, when you've got a 1-goal lead, you gain some control, obviously, over that game, but at the same time, you get a desperate Columbus team down the stretch.
Yeah, no, they were desperate.
If you allocate your resources heavily to one unit, and then that unit on the most important day of the year just doesn't show up for work, you're not going to be a successful business. And look, the offense hasn't been the problem almost at all, almost at any point this season. But to show up on a day where it is do or die, either win or your season is done. You've got no chance, 0% chance to make the playoffs, and the offense gets shut out. That is unacceptable. They lost the game. We'll get to that. But the big storyline coming in was that the starters played tonight. They played 2 possessions on offense. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, all of them. If you're not hurt, you were playing tonight for the Bengals if you're a starter. One issue that the Bengals have faced in recent years, a big issue, is those slow starts early in the season, right? You've heard the numbers before, 1-11 in the first 2 weeks of the season under head coach Zach Taylor. So this year they want to get the kinks out now, again, so it doesn't have to happen the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Well, if this is any type of representation here, Joe Burrow's first pass of the night, incomplete. The next 9, perfect. 9 for 9, 2 touchdowns, 1 to Tanner Hudson, 1 to Jamar Chase right here. He had 123 yards passing. The first team offense looked in rhythm. They looked like they should look with all those stars and all that experience. I mean, they looked unstoppable tonight against a lot of the Eagles' back.
Sure. It's still the preseason.
At a lot of points in this football game, it didn't even feel like the Jets were like the actual factor here. It felt like it was the Bengals offense against the Bengals defense. Which was it going to be, the Bengals offense that won the football game or the Bengals defense that lost the football game? And ultimately, I think it was the Bengals defense that lost the football game. And the offense didn't do quite enough down the stretch. It's crazy to say that. They scored 38 points. You can have as many red carpet events, as many ceremonies as you want, but the best way to honor guys like Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Tony Perez, Ken Griffey Sr., that list goes on. The best way to honor guys like that is to go out onto the field as a team and put together a performance that would make those guys proud. And that's exactly what the Reds did on Friday night. Plain and simple, Columbus was just the better team Sunday night. Cincinnati head coach Pat Noonan said earlier this week not to expect the same type of matches you saw last week, Monday night, in Cincinnati. He expected it to be different, but what we got was really the exact inverse of what we saw in game 1 of this series. Columbus was the more dangerous team Sunday night. They came out aggressive, fed off the energy from their home crowd, and just when you thought Cincinnati had withstood the early push by Columbus, the most disastrous 10-minute window probably of the season. If I'm one step into my approach, I should be able to have an aiming point by now, that when I come into my kick, here's my point of contact right here. But if you've got the ball like chest level when I'm going into my plant foot right here and I still don't have a real aiming point, like I trust Kevin Huber, I trust my holder to get it where it's supposed to be, but if it's an inch or two off, that can really mess up the mechanics, right, of the swing through the football.
Sure, I mean,